with that out the way, let's get this show on the road. Short Box Nation, let's welcome for the first time ever Juan Gedeon to the show. Juan,
hello.
Long time in the making.
Hey guys,
what's up, man?
Thank you for
How
having
you doing?
me. I'm great.
No,
I'm great.
Juan, I'm gonna let this one ride out.
Okay.
There we go. I'm gonna let that one ride out to the finish right there.
That was very nice. Yeah.
This interview only took me. When was Heroes Con? It was in June.
Yeah.
We are now August, early August talking. This is actually a pretty good record for me. Normally it takes a little longer to arrange things, schedules. But I'm so glad I got you on the show, man.
Yeah, me too. I was looking forward to this.
The stickers. Hell yeah! I still got the stickers. By the way, I bought from you. I haven't decided where to put these stickers.
Okay.
If you recall, me and my buddy Drew stopped by your table, grabbed a bunch of stickers. That's where we got to meet. And on our way back home, Drew had reminded me that he copped like the big 6-inch Venom sticker.
Yeah.
And I won't lie, I immediately had like buyer's remorse. I was like,
I'll send you
small
one.
Ones.
I'll send you one. Yeah, and I have more. I have more designs that I didn't have at Heroes.
Here's the thing. He doesn't know where to put it. He's still trying to figure out, like, where's the worthy place to put this giant Venom 6-inch sticker. So, anyways, long story short, man, I've been looking forward to chatting with you in more detail. I've been playing hella catch-up on all of your comics. I ran through. This interview gave me a great reason to go back and, finish all of Jurassic League and look into some of the other stuff you've been working on.
Awesome. Yeah.
Juan, where do you call home? I mentioned in the intro that your hometown, that you were born in Argentina. Like, where do you call home now?
Oh, I call home San Gabriel in California. I really like it here. Okay. Really, really like it. It's I want to stay as much as possible.
How long have you been living there?
I moved during COVID, so 2023, so maybe 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, the last years are a blur. I don't know exactly when that happened. So it was either 2020, 2021. Yeah.
Okay. And you said you're enjoying your time there.
Oh, it's awesome. It's like old people and family, so it's very quiet. It's perfect for me because I'm like a hermit. I'm a hermit, and I hate loud neighbors. I hate loud noises.
Yeah.
So this is perfect. This is perfect for me. It's very safe. Like the houses don't have fences. The windows don't have like bars. It's very nice. It's very nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you were born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, correct?
Yes, sir.
When's the last time you had a chance to go back?
Oh man, 2018. So wow, 5 years. 5 years. Yeah.
How would you describe your hometown for anyone that's never, like myself, that's never been to Argentina, has no idea of what it's like? Like, describe your hometown in your neighborhood.
Okay, so I would say the people from Argentina are basically Italians that speak Spanish. There's all shapes of colors and sizes. There's people that are like white as snow or darker than me. Redheads. It's like a melting pot. So there's everything. It's not like, it's hard to say, oh, the typical Argentine person looks like this. It's very hard. It's very hard. So that's one thing. And then I would describe Buenos Aires. It's crazy because you have downtown that is like downtown LA, or I would compare it to New York, like big buildings, tall buildings, chaos, a lot of traffic, a lot of people. But then where I lived, it was like 40 minutes away in a city called San Isidro. And it was like small, but there was also like a lot of activity. Yeah. It's like kind of like, I think Charlotte would be a good comparison. Charlotte, Heroes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You have have buildings, you have a ton of restaurants, you have a lot of houses, a lot of apartments, a lot of schools.
Is it like the historic area? Because I know Charlotte is kind of like at that historic feel to it.
Well,
and,
there's a historic, there's a very old cathedral near where I live. Very old cathedral, so it's very lively. I wouldn't say it's like this would be a good description. It's not like a small town, It's not like a small town with like 50 people in there. It's not like that at all. But it wasn't like a big city, like a big metropolis. Like the metropolis, like the big buildings and the traffic and the chaos was far away. It's like in the middle.
Okay.
That would be a good way. And it's very nice.
And,
It's very nice.
and what's the comic scene like
Oh.
in Argentina? Because I had a feeling that Argentina has produced and given the world a lot of great comic artists, and I quickly just Googled something, and some of the names I recognize are like Eduardo Risso, Ariel Olivetti, I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
And then of course like the legendary and iconic Hector German, was it Osterheld? His name?
Yeah, the writer. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, can you describe like what is the comic scene like in Argentina, or maybe where you're from specifically in Argentina? Like, what is the view on comics and the culture there?
That's so interesting. I would divide that answer in two parts. Like currently, I think people are obsessed with American comics, Marvel, DC. And then there's the anime and manga crowd that's very strong, very big. You have those things. Then you have humor, like people like cartoons that appear in newspapers or stuff like
comic strips.
Comic strips. So that would be now. But in the past, like when I was like a kid, until I was like 12, 13, there were comics being printed in Argentina by Argentine artists.
Okay.
So one of the big ones that I'm gonna name that I'm very fond of are Anita, the daughter of the executioner. The artist was Juan Bobillo. They will pronounce it differently here. He worked for Marvel and DC. That comic was like insane. That was amazing. The artist ended up drawing Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, She-Hulk.
Anita Blake, the vampire hunter.
No.
Or the executioner's daughter. I'm sorry.
Yeah, in Spanish is La hija del verdugo. La hija del verdugo. So that comic was awesome. That came out in the late 90s. And it had the quality of like a Marvel book. Like the art was insane. The colors were insane. The story was really fun. And then there was another one that I still like look at it up to this day, which is called Cazador, means hunter. But my parents wouldn't let me buy it because it had like a lot of gore, violence, naked women, like nudity, like sex. So it was not for kids, like at all.
Holy moly! Yeah, I'm looking. I'm googling this as you're talking, and this looks like a 12-year-old Badr's like perfect comic book.
No, it was insane, and the artists they were like it was drawn by like 4 people at the time. One of them was Ariel Olivetti. He worked on some issues. He worked on some covers.
Okay, I'm seeing that.
But then the main one was Mauro Cassioli. He was like Simon Beasley on steroids.
I was just about to say I'm getting like heavy Simon Beasley vibes from this.
But the interesting thing is that when Mauro was doing Cazador, I learned this when I got older. Obviously, back then I had no idea. But he was like a kid, like a teenager when he started doing that. So some of those covers that you see that are amazing, he drew them maybe when he was like 19, 20, 21. It was ridiculous. He was like a huge talent and obviously very hardworking. But he was insane. And the best pages from that book were drawn by him. But back then I couldn't see that. So now as an adult, I'm like, oh dude, like this is awesome. Like I wish I had been older when this was around. But that book, man, it was like, it had like violence, action, but it was also comedy. And they were making parodies of current stuff that was happening in Argentina. So the average person would buy that. People who are not comic book fans. Like now it's like, unless you like Superman, Batman, X-Men, Wolverine, you're not going to buy comics. But there were people that were maybe into heavy metal or whatever that were not into comics that would buy this thing because it was hilarious.
Okay, so it had like crossover appeal for a little bit, I guess, for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Like if you wanted the humor or the parody or the superhero stuff. Okay.
Yeah. No, they were crazy.
Yeah, this looks. I mean, I recommend for anyone that's into like Simon Biesler or Garth Ennis. I'd probably put it there. Look up Cazador, Cazador. The art is epic.
Yeah.
So would you say that is it safe to say that one of these, whether it's Cazador or Anita Blake, is it safe to say one of those was maybe your earliest comic memory, or do you have another like
Oh
early comic memory
no,
that's still stuck?
early comic memories. Again, it would have two parts. One would be the comic books of the Ninja Turtles based on the
Mm,
cartoon.
yeah.
Those they were super goofy, but I loved them. So that was one. And then I had an issue of Batman, some Batman issues. But then when I started, like, quote unquote, taking this seriously, the first
Hmm.
memories were Spawn. Was Spawn. That was
Okay.
like the turning point. I'm like, I saw the toys first, then I saw the comic book, and I'm like, no, this. I felt like that book was like showing me a path. I know
Hmm.
that makes sense. Like, I saw that, I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like, this is what I want to do, and this is the line or the vibe that I want to follow. The Spawn, the Max, the Creech, Pete, Dale Keown's
Hmm.
Pete,
Yeah.
and Anita came like a little after. I was a little older. First was for sure Spawn.
Do you remember what issue of Spawn
Yeah,
specifically, or maybe like I mean, outside of the very obvious Spawn just being one of the coolest looking characters
yeah.
ever, what did Todd McFarlane say? Like kids love chains
His
or
love
something like
chain.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, kids love chains.
yeah.
I mean, like, what was it about like Spawn that like just it sounds like just struck you? Was it as simple as the art was just really cool, or was there anything specific that inspired you to like pick up a pencil and try your hand at it?
Yeah. I think. Wow, that's a great question. I didn't think about that.
You
Uh,
can you can easily just say it was the chains, dude.
was it cha- it was the design,
Hmm.
and I remember the first Spawn comic, the design of Spawn, right?
Yeah.
So the first comic that I bought, he's in an alley, like squeezing the hand of a thug, like breaking his hand, holding a gun on the other one, and there's like a bunch of thugs in the on the ground. It's like the issue that follows the fight with Curse. The Curse
Hmm.
appears, I think, issue 23 or 24, and then the next issue he's like in a victorious pose in an alley,
Yeah.
and that's the one that I bought. And then I'm like, oh shoot, I need to know what happened before, because in that issue he has a hole in his chest, and the Curse is like crucified in the alley, like tied with like chains and stuff. I'm like, what happened? How did this happen? I need to see what
Like,
happened before. Uh, so yeah, that was the first. That was the first.
dude, man, that 90s it is interesting to see because I imagine we're probably not too far off in
Uh
age.
huh.
And I
35.
think it's safe to okay, 34 here. So
Oh, cool.
definitely not far off at all.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting to see like, obviously 90s image, the your McFarlanes, your Lee Fields, your Lees, all of them like having such a big impact on like people our age and a little bit older.
Yeah.
Seeing them coming to the industry and like that is their like main inspiration,
Yeah.
like versus the generation like my dad's generation would say someone like, Kirby's and all those
Yeah.
other early comic artists. It's interesting to see now like this new crop of artists come in and like image be like the thing that like
Absolutely.
got them into the industry.
Yeah.
I got one more question about comic culture in Argentina, and then we'll move on to the next topic. But so you picked up this issue of Spawn, and immediately grabbed you, and it worked, right? Like it made you want to go find out what happens next. It
Yeah.
probably left on a cliffhanger. It got you hooked. Um, what is comic? What are comic shops like in Argentina versus like? I mean, are they run of the mill comic shops like we have here in the States, or is there anything that like separates them or makes them unique? Is there any? Yeah,
Mm,
what's the I guess difference,
that's a
if
good
any?
question. No, I think. Well, back then, like the first time I traveled to the U.S., I was like, well, I traveled with school one time, but that doesn't count. Like, I came to the States in 2014 for Comic
Hmm.
Con San Diego, but I didn't see any comic book shops. But I would say, like, they're not. I seen comic books in Argentina, comic book stores that are better than some comic book stores here.
Hmm.
But for the most part, they're like smaller. They're smaller there, and they have less stuff. Like because you have to think about imports. That
Okay.
everything you have to bring it from the U.S. or Europe or Japan, whereas here they just make things here, or maybe they bring it to China, but the I don't know, the companies are here,
Yeah, yeah.
so you have access to everything, right? Uh,
And current stuff, I'd imagine too, because I'm
yes,
here. Yeah,
yeah,
the few times I've been to your comic shops in Europe, it is very apparent that they are, I can go right now and get the latest issue of, whatever, Doctor Strange, right?
right, right,
And in some shops in like that I've been to in Europe, that's not the case. They're behind,
absolutely.
maybe
That's
three
yeah.
issues. It takes a little bit for, like you said,
Oh,
that import to a factor to play in.
yeah, and another thing is that the Spawn comics, I bought the Spanish version, which was
Hmm.
edited by a company, a publisher from Spain,
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
because
Yeah.
it was like in Spanish language.
Hmm.
So it, I think that issue maybe came out in like, I don't know, whenever it came out, but
Yeah.
you have to think about it arrived in it made it to Buenos Aires like 2 or 3 years after. So I
Wow.
was reading
Yeah.
Spawn like in the States, maybe I don't know, they were on issue 50 and we were on issue 20, 25.
Wow.
It was like a huge, there were years
Yeah.
between, yeah,
Man, talk about having to be patient as a
yeah,
as a teenage boy
yeah,
wanting to find out what happened to Spawn.
yeah,
Because there's so many. Man, I didn't even think about that part. Like there
yeah, the
is so
delay.
many. Yeah, there's so many factors in between. From it hitting, printing, finishing printing to getting into your hands. And your situation is like, well, I gotta wait for the translation to come. I
Yeah,
gotta wait for that to come. Okay, yeah,
yeah,
there's a lot of different. Yeah,
yeah,
okay, I gotcha.
yeah,
So, I'm gonna fast forward through your career and life just a little bit because I've read somewhere that early in your career, it sounds like after high school, you getting into college, you had a career in advertising and drawing like animation or
yeah,
storyboards for commercials and all that. How,
yeah.
how did you get into that job?
Dude, so okay, I always wanted to do comics. That's like my
Hmm.
formation. I started drawing with an artist from Argentina who passed away, Ruben Medici.
Oh
I
wow!
studied with him for many years.
So he acted as a mentor for you.
He was a mentor, but
Okay.
then I realized that obviously when you're a kid you don't know, but people always have limitations, right?
Hmm.
So I felt like, okay, I'm hitting like a wall here, you know. So after high school, uh, I didn't know what to do. Like I didn't want to study graphic design because everyone thinks, oh, you're so good at drawing, you should study graphic design. That's not how it works. Graphic
Hmm.
design is a completely different beast. I was never into painting, which is a shame
Hmm.
because now I want to learn how to paint. Yeah, I think it's awesome. So, and there were schools that were very expensive, like digital art, special effects. They were expensive. My family couldn't afford it. So I'm like, what do I do? And I just started looking for jobs online with the skills that I had back then. And a studio hired me as an assistant. They were
Hmm.
doing storyboards for commercials, and I was basically doing pencils. Then someone else was inking them, and then I would help with colors,
Oh wow!
which was like kind of like Karate Kid, when he's like painting the fence, and they're like, "How is this gonna help me fight people?" So it's like, "How is this? How is this gonna help me draw Wolverine or Batman?"
Yeah.
But then I learned working under pressure. I
Hmm.
learned Photoshop because and dude, I was even coloring with a mouse. We
Oh
didn't have
wow!
tablets back then. It was with a mouse. So, but I learned how to use Photoshop, all the commands. Like my bosses were like super patient with me, but they showed me the ropes, and it just so happens it's like fate, no, like a miracle, because they were also comic book fans.
Oh yeah.
So they were doing comics, but commercial storyboards, sorry, paid more, so they just made the transition, and they were doing really well. But they always loved comics, so whenever we had some time off, there was no work that day, and I would talk to them about comics, and we would study like pages from Mike Mignola. They were huge Hellboy
Hmm.
fans, both of them. So they would teach me, oh, this is how the panels work, and how the drawing leads the eye of the viewer to the next panel, composition. So it was like an internship, like they were my mentors. That was basically like college for me. I didn't go to college or university. I don't have a degree, but that was like my school, you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it served multiple purposes. Like you said, it
Dude,
paid the
yes.
bills, but it also gave you that
Yeah.
like that toolbox of skills,
Yeah.
and you're getting like, and it sounds like the your bosses or managers or whatever were like comic literate too. You know,
Oh, they
you're
were, yeah.
saying that they're telling you like, yeah, man, you know, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I had a question for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you mentioned, I was watching an interview of yours, and you were talking about a piece of advice you'd give a new artist
Yeah.
is like learning different camera shots. You know, you mentioned that you personally enjoy like, you know, playing around with the camera and the angle in your panels and whatnot. And I was like, oh, well, it makes sense if he, you know, if he worked as a storyboard artist, because I mean, I can't tell you how many comic artists I've talked to where they're like, yeah, storyboarding and drawing panels for comics is like, you know, almost one and the same.
Yeah.
There's a lot of similarities, is what I'll say. So, you know, reading your bio, I was like, well, man, he had a really great, you know, foundation. You know, I mean, I guess, tell me, there a really big, how much tweaking or like, you know, change did you have to do to your style, or I guess how much did you have to learn to get into comics,
Yeah.
coming from that storyboard background?
How much did I have to learn? A lot.
Like,
A lot. Because
so wow, so you still had to learn a lot despite
yes.
storyboarding being
Yeah.
pretty, you know, pretty similar, huh?
Yeah, because the thing with storyboards, here's the thing: the creatives or the companies that would hire you to do storyboards, uh, in a few words, I'm not burning any bridges. I don't know anyone anymore in Buenos Aires, so I'll just say it. But they suck. Everything sucks. Like you make a lot of money, but it sucks. You're just shooting a commercial of people eating their food, whatever. So
Yeah,
the
very
thing,
bland,
very
very
exactly,
bland.
that's the word.
Got it.
Everything is bland. So with my professor, with my first teacher, Ruben, I was doing like big dudes, like huge muscles, women with like big curves and everything. But when I started working for commercials, everything, no, tone it down. People don't have muscles. It's just normal people, normal clothes. Don't make them, you know, I always make them like frowning or scowling. And no, that looks scary. That looks dangerous. Like don't do that. So I had to tone it down, learn the foundations, learn perspective, polish my anatomy, learn composition, learn sequentials. Like, oh, first they open the door, then they enter the house, then they grab a beer, then they sit down, watch TV. Like, I never thought of that. I wasn't doing that before. And then switching to comics. Okay, now I have the foundation of the cameras, composition, everything. Okay, now incorporate the things that you like. Now incorporate the muscles. Now incorporate the rendering, because for commercials, like you have very tight deadlines. So there was no rendering, like no black areas. Everything was very simple and finished with color. So going back to comics, no, you have to add rendering. You have to put more detail. But then I went to animation. So back again, remove everything, remove the rendering, and animation is also a different beast.
Gotcha.
So it was like a lot of like ups and down, not ups and down, but like I would say maybe detours or different challenges. So and I'm still learning. I'm still like struggling.
As you should, man. Right? Like, that's part of the journey. Like life is all about learning lessons.
Yeah.
So according to a few bios that I saw of yours, like they all point towards that Ghost Racers miniseries from Marvel Comics 2015 as kind of like your big break into comics. Do you consider that like the moment for you of breaking in?
Definitely.
What do you remember from that? Like, how did the opportunity come up, and like, what do you remember from like that experience?
Oh man, it was crazy. Like, I was so happy when first it was the email that said, "Hey Juan, I might have something for you. I would like to work with you," from a Marvel editor.
Find you? How did they find you?
I bugged them. Like
Hell yeah, persistent.
I was very persistent. So
Hmm.
I was living in Mexico back then. I was working in animation. The animation gig ended, so I was doing other stuff. So
real quick. I'm sorry.
yeah,
What was the name of the what was the name of the show?
it never came out. It never came
Oh,
out.
damn, that's
No, it
okay.
never came out. It was, we finished all the storyboards, but it never got to actual production. It was never animated.
Gotcha.
But
Okay, yeah, I heard it goes that way, right? Like
yeah,
at the drop of a
sometimes
dime, it could be like, oh, like the budget pulled or whatever. Okay.
yeah. So yeah, unfortunately, but I downloaded the first issue of All New Ghost Rider, and I read it. I devoured it. I loved it, and then I did something that I never done in my life before, which is uh, email the letter column, send a letter to the actual comic, commenting on how I felt and everything. So I sent an email saying how much I liked it. I never mentioned I was an artist, nothing. And I got a response from the editor that it wasn't like a copy paste response. It was like a legit response. The dude addressed particular points of my message, and I'm like, this is what I always wanted, to have the opportunity to talk to an editor. Like I hadn't even gone to San Diego Comic-Con. Like back then, you would find a job by going to a convention, showing your folder, your portfolio, and then they would call you. No, I never even done that. So this dude replied, and I'm like, Mark Panicia, thank you for the opportunity, Mark. So grateful eternally. So Mark Panicia responded, and I'm like, now I have to start emailing him every freaking week. Every week.
You're like, got that ass. I got that email. Because I'm not letting go.
Because up to that point, I had been working so much that I had a ton of samples, and I'm like, I'm going to start sending him samples every week. Like I said, hey, would you be interested in seeing my work? No response. But I'm like, okay, don't give up. Keep trying.
You're like, oh, cool. I know you. Yeah. I probably caught you during dinner.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back tomorrow, though.
So I started sending samples every week, like once a week or twice a week. I would send him drawings until one day, no response. It was pure faith. He says, this is very cool, Juan. I would like to find something for you. And I was like, dude, and it's crazy. I was living alone. I didn't even have a girlfriend. No friends. My friends were all in Buenos Aires. My other friend in Mexico wasn't around. So I was alone in my apartment. And I was like, yes. If I wanted to do in Formula One when they take out the champagne and like I wanted to do that. So
just drench the whole house. Damn it. This is worth it. Yeah.
So that's how we started. And my first job was not going to be Ghost Racers. Initially, I was going to do Avengers, Avengers with the costumes from the 60s.
Was that one of the Battle World?
No, Battle World was after. But this was, I don't know. Okay. I think it was like What If. I don't know.
Okay.
But it was going to be...
That's pretty major, though.
Yeah, dude.
That's pretty major, though, to get the Avengers off the first project.
Yeah. But he got canned, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking up. You just reminded me that I'm assuming that all new Ghost Rider series you're talking about was the one with Philippe Smith and Trad Moore doing the interiors, right?
Yeah.
I could see why you'd be like, I'm gonna go right in, because that series was
awesome,
bonkers.
Yeah.
Trad Moore. I mean, anytime you can get Trad Moore doing interiors, it's like a blessing. You're like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And I won't lie to you, man. Hearing you talk about submitting a letter into a current comic at that time, you're motivating me to finally cross it off my list. I've done a lot of things within comics. I've gotten into my favorite writers, artists. I've gotten to go to conventions, host panels, but I have never written a letter to Marvel or any comic book. And I feel like that is such an easy thing to do. And I think it's time. I think hearing your story has got me motivated. All right, because once I get an editor's email, it's a wrap. I have nothing to submit, but I just want to bug someone.
Yeah, do it.
That's cool. Okay,
just for the fun of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think for the fun of it, it's worth doing. So what do you? All right. So they bring you on board. They want to give you Avengers. It falls through.
Yeah,
So then they're like, hey, we got this Ghost Racers,
yeah,
which is I think is kind of I don't know. It's not coincidental, but it's a cool little parallel that this book that got you that inspired you
yeah.
to write it and got you in. Now you're drawing the same character. So I mean, how did that I guess onboarding go?
It was very cool because the email said that I got an email from Mark. We were already talking about the Avengers, right? But one day I get an email from Mark Panicia, saying, "Oh, by the way, Juan, bad news. Avengers is not going to happen." But in the same email, will you? I have something else. You want to draw Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider? And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. I
Yeah.
was like stoked because sometimes it's like, oh, you know what? This is not going to happen. And then it's like silence for weeks or months.
Hmm.
But it was like in the same email. This is not happening, but this other thing is happening. And I was so pumped.
Wow.
And at this point, that was actually the first time I went to San Diego Comic Con or the any Comic Con in the US in 2014. And I met Felipe Smith, the writer of
Oh,
All New
cool.
Ghost Rider, an artist too. He drew some issues. And he's also from Argentina. He was raised in Argentina.
Oh, cool.
His mom is from Argentina, his dad from Jamaica. So, but he lived in Argentina till he was 18. So, I saw him at San Diego. I bought his comic Pipochu, create their own stuff that he made in Japan. And I said, dude, I'm gonna work in Avengers. I talked in Spanish, right? But I'm gonna work on Avengers. So yeah, this is great. So we, I think, followed each other on Twitter. And when they said, "Oh, you want to do Ghost Rider and Felipe's gonna draw it," I'm like, "This is like amazing," because we like when we met, we got along really well. We clicked like right away. So it was such a nice first experience.
Hmm.
It was awesome.
Wow.
Yeah,
And this is your first time like working on anything comic related, like getting an outline or notes from a writer and working off a
yeah,
script, the Marvel method of that probably like.
yeah,
Um, so this is where you had to kind of hone and adjust, your process
yeah,
from that storyboarding world into like I guess the comic book
yeah.
world, right?
I
Hmm.
mean, I like a short detour, but I had a run in Tomb Raider for Dark Horse. But I was the
Oh,
inker.
cool.
Yeah, I was the inker. So it's like it's cool, but I didn't. It didn't feel like mine, you know.
Yeah.
So Ghost Racers was like okay, I wanted to do this for so long. Let's do it. And I was terrified. I was very scared. But the good thing about the storyboards, working animation, doing the samples on the sides whenever I could, some small jobs here and there, that helped me with like I watch an anime called Ashime no Ippo about boxing, one of my favorites. And one thing that I take from that is that when the dude gets in the ring, the coach says, "I know you're scared, but your body will remember what to do in the fight.
Hmm.
Your training
Yeah.
will speak for itself." So although I was so scared with Ghost Racers, it's like everything that I had done before helped me. Oh man, I'm so scared. I'm so scared. Oh no, I can actually do this. I know how to draw a face. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, another
You were
face.
already put in. You probably already had put in, like that 10,000 hours in some capacity.
So yeah,
Probably like 5,000 here,
right,
three
right.
here.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but that was like the big. I wouldn't say the big test, but maybe the first big. I don't know. Maybe that's a
Yeah.
good way to put it.
That might be one of my favorite. You might have just given me one of my favorite origin stories when it comes
Yeah,
to breaking the industry. That was awesome.
yeah,
I'm gonna switch it up, and I want to talk about the medium itself, like drawing. Do you? I'm sorry. I'm gonna switch it up. Talk about the medium itself. Do you have a preferred like medium? Is it strictly pencil and inking? I know you ink a lot of your stuff. Like,
yeah.
what are some of your favorite tools to use?
Favorite tool? I have them right here. This is my favorite, probably pen. I know everyone says, "Oh, what pen do you use?" And I'll tell you right away, it doesn't do anything. You have to know how to
Hmm.
use it. But it's this. It's a zebra pen. I don't know if you can see it, but
Yeah, for our audio listeners,
yeah.
this is probably where you want to go in the video version.
But
But
yeah, and it's all in Japanese. I can't read this, but I get them at Daiso for
hmm,
$1.50, and it's awesome because the tip is like it works. You can adjust the value of the line. So you can do thick lines, thin lines. It's kind of like a mix between a brush and a pen. And a micron. It's awesome. This is my favorite. And then I use microns. I have a pen brush.
Do you do any of your work digital at all?
Yeah. Like Jurassic League was digital pencils.
Okay.
Digital pencils printed out in a comic book board and inked traditionally, and then scanned again and sent to the colorist. And that's how I've been doing.
Have you been inking your?
Always.
Do you ink all of your stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, because I noticed that you've worked with a lot of really good colorists like Tamra Bondvillain, Frank Martin, John Roche, Mike Spicer, et cetera, et cetera. But it seems pretty consistent that, you know, when you're credited as the artist, it's I always interpret it as pencil and inking. Is there a reason why you prefer to like keep the ink? Because I mean, you know, it's not uncommon for pencilers to have a separate inker, but why do you like doing both?
Here's the thing. I don't necessarily, I wouldn't say I like it. It was just necessity. Like my goal was always to be a penciler, like Joe Madureira, Greg Capullo, Chris Machado, Lenny Liu. Those were my heroes, Jim Lee. And my dream was to be inked by Scott Williams, Tim Townsend, those guys. But I don't know, for some reason I just started inking my own work out of necessity, because at some point I was working digitally. So like the ink and the pencil was just one step. When you're working on paper, it's like the pencil and then you ink. But when I was doing it on the computer, I was just like doing a sketch, and I clean it up with like a clean line on top, and that was basically inks. They were very clean lines. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna ink my own stuff, I guess. So yeah, that's how it happened. But I always fantasize about having an inker and just doing pencils the traditional way. I fantasize about that, but I already got used to doing my own stuff, you know. And I think a lot of the details that I put in my work come from accidents that I use whiteout. I use a ton of whiteout. So I don't know how I would present the pencils to an inker for them to do what I would do with whiteout. You know, I wouldn't know how to.
It sounds like you got your own like process and formula that probably makes way more sense in your head than having to try to like lay it out, things like that. Okay.
Yeah.
I read I was reading an interview with yourself and Brandon Thomas, the writer of the image series Horizon that you did.
Yeah.
And in it, he praises you for your knack of like, you know, just making things cool. I don't got a direct quote, but the overall gist of it was that you have a knack for cool aesthetic.
Yeah.
You know, you're able to incorporate a lot of action into pages and things like that. And I was curious, where does that come from? You mentioned anime, and I know that you've got a love of video games as well. But comic books aside, like, what are some? I guess where does this knack for cool aesthetic and action come from? Like, what are some things that you enjoy?
Well, I'm just like a very cool person overall, so I think that's where it goes. I'm just kidding. I'm just so cool.
Talk that shit, just, Juan. Talk your shit, Juan. Yeah. Effortless.
And then it just comes naturally. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's like a combination of the stuff I like. It's like I cannot escape the things that I like. They just like appear, you know. So it's. I think it's like a result of combining the things that I could consider cool. Like for me, the Dragon Ball is super cool. Like the super cool characters, cool hair, cool clothes. I think the Spawn toys were super cool. So
the Spawn toys still to this day are some of the coolest toys, and I'm talking even like this stuff from like the 90s. Still are some of the best toys out there. There's a few toy shops around me, and anytime I go in, I'm looking for like the OG Spawn toys, because I mean, it's just they're so detailed and you know just like comic book accurate. And I always think about and I've heard Tom McFarlane say this a lot on several interviews, where like his secret to making good toys is you keep molding it and doing whatever you do, until it looks just like the comic book.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah. Also, it's interesting that with the toys, with the Spawn toys, I saw the progression. I saw like the first series, the first or second series, and
Mm-hmm.
my first encounter with a Spawn toy was not with a Spawn figure. It was another character. I think it was either Mother One from Wetworks,
Hmm.
or Vandalizer. Vandalizer is like a blue like monster demon, and I saw that, and I'm like, this is the best thing I ever seen. I turn around and see the cardboard. I'm like, no, look at all these other characters. I need to have all of them, you know.
Yeah.
But they were not around. They were like those specialty stores just had those toys. But then I saw the transition of how they became more detailed and more intricate to the point where they were basically statues with very limited articulation. And I think now Todd is going back to doing more articulation. But that was like the coolest thing to me at that time. But I always had like
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I always had like a very like defined taste that I couldn't like. I don't know. I cannot maybe explain it with words, but this is cool and this is not for whatever reason. It's very subjective, but I always had like a radar or a very clear like taste. You know.
It sounds like it sounds like you've definitely got a style that you gravitate towards, and it sounds like you also just follow your gut on like what you think is cool.
Yeah, totally. Like when I was,
no, please, I keep interrupting. My apologies.
No, you're good. When I was a kid, for example, I never cared for cars or micro machines were super hot when I was a boy, but I always liked the turtles, like the Ninja Turtles were like the best. G.I. Joe, I didn't care for G.I. Joe. I liked Street Sharks. When I saw Street Sharks, it just blew my mind. I'm like, this is the best thing ever. So I don't know why I prefer one over the other. I really don't know. But yeah, I always had that.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you brought up action figures in Street Shark, especially because as I'm reading Jurassic League, those are two of three things that come to mind when I'm reading it. I'm like, man, the way he draws these characters are like, I don't know, they're mobile, but like they've got some heft to them. The anatomy is on point. The action is awesome, and it made me think of like Street Shark, like these anthropomorphic, creatures that like can fight. They look like bodybuilders, right?
Yeah,
and it would be cool. Like the fact that we don't have a Jurassic League action figure line is kind of crazy, but maybe McFarlane Toys will get to that soon. But the other thing that it made me think of, and I think this is a consistent across your work, but specifically Jurassic League, because I just think the subject matter and the character designs, but it made me really think of Gendy Tartakovsky, like Dexter's Laboratory, Primal, and all that. Like, was Dexter's Laboratory a big influence, or Gendy Tartakovsky in general? Was he like a big influence for you?
Well,
especially considering your storyboarding background, and animation background.
Well, I would say, I watched that when I was a kid, but I didn't watch those cartoons like Dexter or Powerpuff Girls. I didn't see them from like I wasn't studying them. Like I just watched it and I'm like, oh, cool. But as an adult, when Primal came out, like a few years ago, I don't remember exactly when, but I'm like, this is awesome. This is the best thing. No dialogue, no nothing, just grunting, and like they just telling you the story with the expressions. It's all action. That proves that if you do it well, you can, like, action can carry out a whole series. Like cool action, cool beats. I mean, there's also emotional stuff that they achieve different ways, but Primal was definitely in the DNA. It's definitely in the DNA of Jurassic League. Definitely.
Right, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
All this talk of McFarlane Toys and Spawn, have you ever had a chance to meet Todd McFarlane?
Never. I would love to, but I also kind of don't want to, because I'm afraid of being like causing like a bad. No. Like me being too nervous. or get
Gotcha.
emotional and start crying like an idiot. I'm like, oh, Todd, you're, like
Tom McFarlane's looking at you like,
he's
that's not
like,
cool.
that's not cool, man. Like, behave
I thought
yourself.
you.
Yeah,
He's like, I thought you was cool,
I
Juan.
thought you
I
were
thought you was
cool,
cool.
and you're like crying, being a weirdo. I don't want to make him uncomfortable. So I would love to meet him,
I
but
feel you.
it would require like a lot of preparation.
I
Like,
got you. I got
be
you.
cool, sound cool, like don't act like
I get.
like an idiot, that kind of stuff.
I guess on the topic of Jurassic League, how about we talk about how Jurassic League came to be? Like, what was
Yeah.
the impetus of the idea? How did you end up partnering with,
Uh,
Daniel Warren Johnson, who is one of my
yeah.
absolute favorite comic creators in the game right now? Like, how did that whole idea come about?
Oh man, it's crazy. Okay, so I was drawing death metal. The name is such a mouthful. Death
It
metal,
is. It's
multiverse,
like,
and okay, that
yeah.
issue. It was 40 pages. They were super nice. They gave me a lot of time. It was also back right when I moved to San Gabriel. So I was like moving and working,
Hmm.
but it was also COVID, so they were very understanding. Like, yeah. So I finished that book, 40 pages.
Which I'm sorry to interrupt, which is a
Yeah,
beautiful book, by the
thank you.
way.
I
Like
appreciate that. Means a lot.
I ended up reading that after Jurassic League, and I'm like, man,
Thank you.
that same bombastic energy and knack for like
Awesome.
cool aesthetics and action was like prevalent in that. If anything,
Thank you.
I wish I could have read that one first,
Oh,
because I'm like, oh, these action figures do exist. I mean, they are making
yeah,
action figures kind of off it, but anyway.
yeah. So I finished that, and one of the negative aspects of that, quote unquote, was that that's like the epilogue of a
Hmm.
major event that happened in DC, right?
Yep.
An event that I didn't read. I had no idea what happened. So they sent me a reference, like the reference folder, rather, was 1 gig.
Wow.
1 gig for reference, because I had to draw stuff that happened, other characters, different events, and I'm like,
Oh wow! You had to
I
basically
was like,
keep it because there was a story already built up, and it was
yes,
already dealing with. I mean, it's in the
yeah,
name, multiversity.
yeah. I
So there's a
couldn't,
lot of things to factor
yeah,
in. Wow.
I couldn't do just whatever. If they tell me, oh, draw
Wow.
Venom jumping on rooftops, I can do that. I don't need to read the previous 5 issues. It's just whatever. But by the time I was done with that, I was so exhausted. I'm like, man, I can't. This is like too much. Like, I'm glad that people like it and that the art, if it holds up, I'm so glad. But it was a lot of heavy lifting, not in necessarily in execution, but in terms of like research. Oh,
Hmm.
what costume is he wearing now? Oh, the costume from Earth 63. Oh, and I drew
Ah.
the costume from the version Earth 20. So I had to, okay. So that was like messing up my momentum.
Hmm.
It was hard. So I turned in the last page. I had an all-nighter. I pulled an all-nighter. I was done. My brain was fried. I go for a walk. And I'm like, okay, I'm tired of superheroes. I'm tired. I don't want to do this again.
You
So
got your full. You're like,
Yeah.
look, I got 1 GB waiting
So
for me at home. I'm
yeah.
good.
So what do I? It made me think of the stuff that I want to do. And I just want to do monsters and
Hmm.
dinosaurs and animals and Ninja Turtles and Street Sharks. And the light bulb went off. And I thought another thing that's in the DNA of Jurassic League is Primal Rage. I also love video games.
Yes.
And Primal
Yeah.
Rage was like, I went to the arcades as a kid and I spent so much money. I was so bad at it. I was a kid. But
Same.
I just love the monsters. Who did I
Who's your
use?
character? Yeah, who's your
The
character?
Armadon. It's like a Triceratops and
Yeah.
Kilosaurus combination. I like Blizzard, the blue gorilla,
Oh
but
yeah.
I couldn't use him right. But
He was my guy.
Armadon, I was more effective with him. But I just
All
tried
right.
all of them. I tried all of them so I could see them. Although I got my ass kicked, I just want to see how they looked and how they moved as a kid. So I thought of Primal Rage. Like as an adult, like I I don't know if I should say this, maybe cut it out, but I hate everything. Like I hate 90% of the stuff that's out there. comics, TV shows, movies. I hate, like, I like very few things. So I think of the stuff that made me happy as a kid, and when I see it, it brings something back, in me. So I thought of Primal Rage. That brought me so much joy. So okay, how can I do like a current version of Primal Rage, or how can I do Primal Rage with DC? And I thought, how about doing these dinosaurs, but dressed as Batman, dressed as Superman, dressed as Wonder Woman. I mean, and the idea came from the book, like Death Metal Multiverses, and I learned that there's so many multiverses. Why not have a multiverse where they are anthropomorphic dinosaurs?
That's some smart thinking right there. You found a loophole.
I found a loophole, exactly, and it worked because they approved it, and the book is out.
So, like there was no. I imagine for you, it's like, look, I just did a 40-page giant book based on, costume accurate, accurate costume for all the different worlds. Y'all gonna give me 6 issues to draw some dinosaurs? God damn it! All right, was that how it went?
That's basically how it went.
Was there any pushback? Because I won't lie, when I first seen the announcement, I remember when I first seen the announcement, I was like, oh shit, a new Daniel Warren Johnson book. Wait, there's dinosaurs?
He's not drawing it. Yeah.
I was like, okay, all right. I'm color me interested.
Yeah.
Color me interested.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I came up with the designs, right? I came up with the synopsis, like beginning to end is what's going to happen. I came up with the idea of having Darkseid in an egg in the center of the earth.
That's so badass.
He's like, also in multiverse death metal, blah, blah, blah. You have these things that I never seen in my life called tuning forks, where people are attached to those, and this character sucks the life force out of them. I'm like, how about we do this, but with dinosaurs? So instead of the tuning fork, it's like a tree, and it's like a living organism, or like tendrils or something. And the cavemen are strapped to that. I started having all these like images in my head, and they asked me for some changes I think mostly in the presentation or some story beats. One of the biggest changes that the editors asked for was that I picture Jurassic League as, this is the Batman issue. It's a 6-issue miniseries, right? But this is the Batman issue. This is the Superman issue. This is the Aquaman issue. And towards the end, they come together. They're like, no, scratch, forget about that. They have to meet as soon as possible because the Justice League is the Jurassic League. So the fans of the Jurassic League, of the Justice League, want to see them all get together as soon as possible. And then I came up with some origin ideas for like the powers. Like, okay, so because there's regular dinosaurs, right, in this world. How does this dinosaur end up being an anthropomorphic dinosaur that dresses as a bat? And we came up with ideas. Some of them were my ideas, some of them were Daniel's, but we never showed them in the book. We didn't have room.
Oh wow!
But there's ideas for that, and some of them were like, I think they're so funny. They're like really fun, and like both to look at and like silly, but it's like the tone for Jurassic League is that, it's a silly concept, but I took it super seriously. So that makes it even more fun, in my opinion.
Dude, it was, there's definitely, it's, a dinosaur dressed as Batman is silly at its core. But to your point, it was a really fun read. It was a gorgeous looking book. And I can't recall the name of the fill-in artist that stepped in, I think, in issue 4 or 5.
Rafa Garres.
His style, I won't lie, at first I was like, where's Juan? Why is Juan not on this issue? But I grew to really love that issue a lot.
Awesome.
So like great action. It looked great. The character design wise, this is a prime example of this is a great example of like character design work and really playing around with like iconic designs for Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, and you know, like still carrying those those iconic signature aesthetics, and
Mm-hmm.
like you know, giving them a cool look. Aside from like the trio, you know, aside from Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman,
Mm-hmm.
I thought your designs for the Aquaman version, dinosaur version, Flash, and especially Black Manta were
Mm.
among my favorites. And when I saw when Black Manta makes his appearance in the series, that's when I started drawing parallels. Like, yo, this reminds me of Gendy Gartarsky. You know, this reminds me
Mm.
of
Yeah.
Primal Rage. Like, that's when I started seeing like the vision for it. And you've got a one hell of a story too, man.
Mm.
A lot more heartfelt than I thought. I was really
Mm.
expecting just dinosaurs punching each other,
Mm.
but I'm like, damn, I'm over here crying for Batman. You know, for
Mm.
the loss of this dinosaur's family.
That's awesome. That makes me very happy. Happy
So
to hear.
how did Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer come in?
Yeah.
Because you know, like them two are like, you know, two peas in a pod. They're tight. Like
Yeah. They're
Mike Spicer
tight.
has colored. I think Mike
Everything.
Spicer has colored everything Daniel Warren Johnson has
Mm-hmm.
done.
Yeah. So okay. So initially, like my editor, Katie Kubert, whom I'm very like
Wait, Katie Kubert,
Katie Kubert.
related to like Andy and
Yeah.
the Kubert brothers?
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
from the Kubert family.
Adam and Andy are her uncles. So
Oh,
Joe
cool.
Kubert
Hmm.
was her grandfather.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Wow, that
I
family.
love Katie. Yeah.
That family is comic book royalty, man.
Oh,
That is
definitely.
okay.
Yeah. So I was very close with Katie, and she is also a huge dinosaur fan. So it was like I took this idea from there's a manga and anime called Bakuman that it's
Oh yeah,
amazing, highly recommended. But they talk
yeah, it's
about the
good.
relationship between the artist and the editor. That is
Hmm.
something that a lot of people don't know. But I thought, oh, it was like a perfect storm because I wanted to do dinosaurs. Katie's a huge dinosaur person. If I pitch this to her, she's gonna love it, and I love it too. This is gonna work. So, but the thing is that I never. I initially I was gonna write the whole thing, right? Excuse me. But I never published anything as a writer. So they were like, maybe we need someone to write this with you, Juan. Hope
That's
you
fair.
don't mind. That's fair. Okay, whatever. As long as I can draw and get this published. So I thought, okay, I don't want to be paired with someone who's not my vibe. Like, there's a lot of writers that it's all dialogue or it's like very boring or whatever. I want to work with someone that hopefully has a similar DNA.
Hmm.
Daniel, like I met Daniel in for the first time at Emerald City, I think years ago, 2015, 2016. We got along really well. And then I just texted him to see, hey dude, I'm working on this thing, but they want someone to write this with me. Are you on board? He's like, yeah, let's do it. And that's pretty much it. Then I emailed
Damn
Katie.
easy.
Yeah. And then I emailed Katie, hey, Katie, Daniel said he would be interested. That's cool. He's like, yeah, that's perfect. I love Daniel. And that's how it happened.
Wow, man, your career so far has been a
It's,
lesson on persistence. You know,
yeah,
with emailing the editor,
yeah,
and just kind of like right time, right place, and I
yeah,
mean really, and kind of setting, you know, and kind of looking at, I guess foresight is the word I'm thinking of, like seeing, like, you know, leaning into the multiverse thing. You just, you know, drew 40 pages of that multiversity comic,
yeah,
finding like a little pocket for you to fit in this
yeah,
story, and like knowing the right people. I think like, yeah, it almost feels like right place, right time, but there is definitely like a lot of like prep and planning
yeah,
that you do behind the scenes.
yeah. I think
How much
also,
dinosaur?
oh, no, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your
Oh,
thought.
I was going to say that I left Buenos Aires when I was 23. I
Hmm.
moved to Mexico with friends. One of them, we worked together and everything. Uh, but I was gonna say that a lot of bad stuff happened in there in
Hmm.
Mexico, and also then coming to the States and adjusting to the States. And when I came to the States, I had 3 roommates, and I was sleeping on a couch in a living room for like 6 months, nine
Wow.
months till I met my girlfriend, and my girlfriend at that point. Um, and then we moved in together. But I'm saying this because I'm just realizing now, right? But I think your life or your experiences in that helped me like adapt and read situations. And although maybe I couldn't put like a word to it or understand it completely, I had like an instinct where I could like read people, read situations, adapt, act quickly. And I think that maybe translate to, oh, I'm doing death metal. Oh, there's a multiverse. I hate superheroes. I want to do dinosaurs. And seeing all the pieces uh, fit. I think it like a lot of like at that point it sucked. I lived through so many bad experiences, but it kind of shaped me and gave me that like that skill. I think I'm realizing that now.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
So aside from learning a bunch of different dinosaurs, because I'm looking at this list of dinosaurs,
Yeah.
and some of these I won't even pretend to try to like pronounce.
No, I can't
Aside
even
from
do it either. So don't worry. I
so
can't.
wait. Because I mean, I found this like list that names every dinosaur. Like Aquaman in this comic is a
Yeah. Yeah.
baryonyx. I don't know. Like, was this a conscious thing? Like, were you like, okay, Green Lantern is going to be a Parasaurolophus?
Yeah.
I said that
Okay.
wrong.
I'll say this. Like I love Primal Rage because of this. They're not trying to be scientifically accurate.
Yeah, accurate.
There's like a cobra dinosaur. There's the gorilla. There's the. He's like a triceratops, but it's not really.
Yeah.
So
They
whatever.
found all the easy dinosaurs. Like, here's a brontosaurus, right, and a velociraptor.
Exactly. They made up their own dinos. So ideally, they're based on a certain dino, but they're not real dinos. Like I never claimed that, oh, these are scientifically accurate dinos. Like some people were complaining about that. Oh, but this doesn't look like blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, if you want to see like, I thought
go read a science book.
Go read a science book. Go to the museum. That's the right place for you. This is fun. This is, if you like fun, do this. If you hate fun, go to a museum. Watch Jurassic Park. This doesn't cancel Jurassic Park. You can watch Jurassic Park as many times as you want. So I thought also of like the Looney Tunes. If you look at Wile E. Coyote or the Roadrunner, like when I was a kid, I never seen a coyote in my life. So I thought they would kind of look like those things. But I saw a coyote like a few years ago, and it looks nothing like Wile E. Coyote, right? Same.
Yeah. Like, yo, why is that coyote on all fours? Why is he standing up and getting blown up?
or the Roadrunner, the color scheme of the Looney Tunes Roadrunner it has nothing to do with the real Roadrunner. So I had that approach when I was doing the dinosaur Jurassic League. Like, yes, they're loosely based on a dinosaur, but they're not. It's something different. And I gave those names on purpose to those people in the interviews. Why? Because here in the States, there's something very interesting that you look at someone and you're like, and people go like, you're like Hispanic, right? And maybe 1/3 something else. Or you're like, oh, you're Asian, right? Or you're like black, but like mixed. And that's a very American thing where people try to put people
a category or a label.
Yes, exactly. So I know how people think. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is a brontosaurus. Okay, yeah, there you go. But it's not really. Because it's
all right.
So yeah, because the black manta, there's not. It's just a manta, a stingray with legs, and a bodybuilder's body. That's not real. Like, it's just whatever. It's like you can make up whatever you want. So
the lesson, listeners, if you're one of those that are critiquing for accuracy, just enjoy the goddamn book.
Yeah,
it's just fun.
Yeah.
So, Juan, what would you say was your biggest lesson that you got out of that experience? What was the biggest lesson you got out of that experience with Jurassic League? I guess just like biggest lesson, period. I wanted to know, like, from a writing perspective,
Dude.
like, did you learn something from that?
Yes.
I guess what was your big takeaway?
My takeaway is that, initially when I had this idea, of the dinosaurs. I always kind of sabotage myself, second guess myself. I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough. This is stupid. No one's gonna care. But I heard a quote from Rick Rubin, the music producer, that said,
He's got so many great quotes.
"Dude,
I'm ready. I'm
you're
ready for
ready."
it.
He said,
Yeah.
"The only value that something needs is if the artist likes it.
Hmm.
That's the only value that it needs. Because if the artist likes it enough to do it and share it, some people will respond to that." So my takeaway was like, people were laughing at Jurassic League, and it's cool. They can laugh. I don't care. You can go read Dark Knight Returns from Frank Miller, Watchmen. That's fine. That's never gonna go away. That still, exists. But there's people who enjoyed it, and that made me think that I have, just like Jurassic League. I'm not gonna talk about them now, but I have 10, 15 ideas for different things, both for the big two, if the deal is right, for the big two, but if not, I'll do it on my own. And if Jurassic League, all these ideas that would seem like goofy at first, they might be home runs. Or maybe not home runs, but like a small success, as long as I can keep like paying bills with doing this. And I don't have a degree, so I would have to either do Uber or work at McDonald's. That's my reality. So as long as I can keep doing it, like, yeah. And I like the response, and that, that people respond to my stupid dinosaur idea, which, again, some people think it's stupid. I never thought of it as stupid. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of goofy, but it's fun, and I want to do it. So that was my biggest takeaway. It was very encouraging.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it might have sparked a fire in you to, it sounds like, maybe do more writing. Is that safe to say? Like, you
Definitely.
want to do more into the writing?
Absolutely. One of the things, I'm not gonna name names, but I worked on a project that I'm like, man, this is terrible. This is not good. Like, this doesn't work. Like, where's the structure? Or, yeah, here I need to draw this. Okay, is this gonna pay off later? Are we going back to this beat that I have to draw now? Or no, nothing made sense. It was like a collection of. It seemed to me like a collection of brain farts. So I'm like, I mean, I'm not going to be Alan Moore. I'm not going to be Frank Miller. But maybe I can do. I
Carve
think.
your own space.
Yeah. I think this. Sean Murphy said this back in the DeviantArt days when he was doing journal posts. He said, maybe I'm an A. My art is an A plus or A. Maybe my writing is a C. But if I combine my C writing and my A art, I can be a B plus book. I'm good with that. So I think that's my approach. I'm not going. I don't care about being Alan Moore or Frank Miller. I'm going to be something else. But if I can do a decent like story, and just go crazy with the art, people will hopefully respond, and it's going to work, and I might be able to keep doing it.
Yeah, you got to focus on just being the best version of you.
Yeah.
Like the version that's going to make you proud,
Yeah.
and doing things that make you happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that was a really cool reference, because I'm not familiar with like Sean Murphy's early deviant/art/blog years, but this isn't the first time that you've brought up. I mean, you just brought up a Rick Rubin quote. You brought up some other stuff about Todd McFarlane.
Oh, dude.
I'm gonna take it us in a different path here real quick, but
yeah, I'm down.
I love asking this question anytime we have a comic artist on the show.
Yeah.
Who are some of if you had to make a comic artist Mount Rushmore? So, top 4, top 5.
Ooh.
I mean, technically Mount Rushmore is 4, but I always add a 5th. Why not? If you had to make a comic artist Mount Rushmore of 4 artists that like inspire you, that you strive to, that you look at and, in high regard, what are some of the names that come to mind?
Oh man, that's such a good one. Off the top of my head, I would say like currently. No, I'm gonna put some love, and I'm gonna explain my answer. Yeah. I think right now the best living comic book artist, I see him probably as like the final boss in a game. If being a comic book artist was a video game, and there's a final boss. It's James Harren.
Wow.
I think he's the final boss.
He is. What was the name of that series he just did last year?
Rumble? No, Ultra
Rumble.
Mega.
Ultra Mega blew my mind. When I got a hold of that. Yeah, James Harren is the shit.
Yeah, and also like seeing him. Okay, so the first time I went to Heroes with a table as a quote unquote professional, I saw his originals in person, and it felt like a punch from Mike Tyson in the gut. Like boom. Like, you know, in anime, like a One Punch Man, when he goes like this, and it felt like I felt like a mouse and the lion. That's how it felt like.
Wow.
But that's how it felt. But I'm like Goku, you know, like when I see someone strong, it gets me excited, you know. He might kick my ass, but it's like motivation to get better. And I think there's a reason why I think James is like the top of the mountain. And although I aspire to be like, I think it's silly to say, oh, I want to surpass him, because I don't think that art is subjective. For some people, the best artist might be Mignola. For some people, might be Jim Lee. For some people, James Harren. And who's the best of all time? It's impossible. I don't think it works like that with art. Like, even for me, like I'm saying James Harren now, but back in the day, Sean Murphy was number one. Sean Murphy, hands down. And another time was Ashley Wood. Another time, Greg Capullo, Todd McFarlane. So
it changes with your taste, right? It sounds like it changes with your taste as you grow up, the things you like.
Yeah, totally. And for example, I love the Turtles. I love the toys. I love the cartoon, love the animation. But I wouldn't necessarily say that Kevin Eastman or Peter Laird are my art heroes. I like the Turtles, but I'm not particularly crazy about them as individuals. If that makes sense?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, right.
So you've got James Harren at the top. He's George Washington in this analogy. Who else is on the Mount Rushmore?
I would say, well, I mean, when I was starting out, Greg Capullo, Tom McFarlane, I had a huge Lenny Liu and Chris Bachalo phase. Oh, yeah. They were my heroes. But then I read a lot of manga. So the artist of One Punch Man, Yusuke Murata, he's like, he might be also a final boss, like, for sure.
Okay.
He's like James Harren and then Murata, because he's insane, dude. And also, a lot of people don't know about this, but before One Punch Man, he did a football manga called iShield 21. The anime is not very good, but the manga, dude, I don't care about football. I don't care about sports. I don't play sports. But this book is about American football, and I devoured that thing. That thing made me cry, made me cheer.
Oh, wait. It's about American football?
Yeah, American football.
Oh.
But in Japan.
My ears are peaked?
Dude, look it up. iShield
I'm
21.
Right now. Okay.
And the art, you can also see, I think this might have been his first professional work. So you see the progression, how different volume 1 looks from volume 5. And
wow, I have never seen this. This looks pretty fucking cool.
Dude, and also some of the art, I would say One Punch Man is like at the top of my list. But iShield 21 sometimes is as good, if not better.
And I'm on this sports manga kick. I've been reading Slam Dunk, which I kind of need to get back to. And there's a soccer one too that I think it's called like Blue Blade. I don't know what it's called, but I got to check that out. But I'll add iShield 21. You're hyping it up big time.
You're gonna love it. The books are pretty hard to find. It's out of print. I lost your camera. Can you see me?
No. Oh, yeah, I can still see you. No worries. As long as you can hear me, we're good.
Yeah, I can hear you. So, the volumes are out of print, so it might be very pricey, but you can probably read it online somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. So we got 2 of 4 for your Mount Rushmore. Who else do you got?
Well, I think Uh, James Harren, Yusuke Murata. Shoot, I don't know. Beasley, Simon Beasley, for sure. I don't know. I think James might be the top, and Murata. But then the rest kind of change and depends on how I feel and depends on whether I'm counting the actual art or what it makes me feel. You
Okay.
know, so those change, but yeah, I think James and Murata would be the core. Maybe Beasley would be the core, and then like floating, I would say McFarlane, Capullo, Leniel Yu, Chris
Okay.
Bachalo.
So they could be swapped out for that fourth place anytime, depending
Yeah,
on the mood.
depending on the mood.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah,
All right, now that's a solid list, man. I mean, the James Heron being so high up there
yeah,
is a little. It's not surprising, but I think it's one of the more interesting picks
yeah.
that I've heard. That's a solid Mount Rushmore.
Mm.
Juan, what would you say is like the best? I'm sorry. Let me take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
Juan, what would you say is the best series that I feel like I already know the answer. So I wanna take Jurassic League off the board. I know
Okay.
how close Jurassic League is to you. I can already tell like your enthusiasm for that series. It speaks volumes.
Mm-hmm.
But with Jurassic League off the board and considering everything else you've done, what series do you feel like best represents you artistically, and maybe even a little bit of like your personality? Like, what do you? I guess like what series are you most proud of outside of Jurassic League?
That's a great question.
Because because there's two series I'm kind of in between to check out next. I've obviously
Okay.
read Jurassic League. I've read the Multiversity book, but I didn't know that you did the interior art for this DC Pennyworth
Yeah.
series. And then I haven't read the sci-fi series Horizon that you did for
Mm-hmm.
Image.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like in between those two. So I'm looking for like direction on which one you felt like you
Oh.
came most correct in.
I don't know. I think oh man, you're putting me on the spot. I think outside of Jurassic League, I'm really not answering your question. I'm sorry, but I'm answering in a separate way. I think
Sure.
my favorite work outside of Jurassic League is my Venom stuff,
Mm.
like the 3 issues of Venom. Like that's my, and like you said, the personality comes through and my
Okay.
personal taste. I think Venom is probably the best vehicle for me in American comics. Maybe the Turtles. I
Okay.
would love to draw the Turtles if the
Oh my god,
IDW
I
is
feel like you
listening.
would absolutely destroy
I would love to draw the Turtles, guys. I'm free maybe in 2024.
it.
So for
I'll help you
now,
make
I'm
it
free
happen,
for
man.
now. I don't know.
Look,
Um,
I'm gonna find you an editor's email. All right, I
yeah,
got you.
yeah. So I would say Venom. That's like the
Okay.
most honest answer. Sorry, I didn't
No, no,
answer the other thing.
no. That's kind of what I was looking for. So I'll have to go
Yeah,
back and check out the Venom because
yeah,
if it's the Venom from, I'm assuming like the stickers that you made, the stickers that you sell when you set up at these
yeah.
comic conventions. That's the Venom from the comic, right?
Well, some yes and no. It's like, well, yeah. One of the Venom stickers is like a commission that I turned into a sticker and changed some stuff.
Okay.
One was a commission. Then another one, yeah, and the other two were actual drawings from these books. But again, I changed some stuff
Got
and
it. Got it.
recolored
Okay.
them. The Venom with the back towards the viewer. It's from a panel that kind of blew up on Instagram. Like when I posted it, like now, dude. Okay, so that thing at that point was the thing with most likes I ever got. It was like
Hmm.
15K back then. But it's a funny story. Like we can go back to this. I have a post that's gonna reach 275K likes,
Wow.
and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like this is, I don't think it's one of my best works. I didn't
What's the
use.
post?
It's Teen Titans. It's Beast Boy as a little cat, and then Raven appears and hypnotizes two security guards.
Hmm.
And that thing, dude, got 275K likes. Unfortunately, I cannot convert that to money,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah, you can't make
followers.
stickers from it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it's cool. It's an interesting thing that happened.
Dude, look,
Unexpected.
the algorithm surprises me every single day of
Same.
like what it picks up, what people don't. You're like, come on, guys, I really put my heart and soul into this. But then like this bullshit post
Yeah,
I did, it's like blowing up.
yeah,
I know exactly what you mean. And
yeah.
if I'm gonna try to find this. I think I know what Venom image you're talking about. And if I could find actually, if you'll send me a
Okay.
good image of it, I'll use it as the episode artwork.
Oh,
Probably.
perfect. I love it. Yeah, I'll do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Because speaking of your images kind of floating around and going, viral and whatnot,
yeah.
your I can't recall if it was like a cover or if it was like a commission, but the image that you drew of like Spider-Man knocking Venom into like just
Oh,
punching the shit out of him, and he's like
yeah,
Venom's like up against a wall and
yeah,
it's destroying like this wall. I've seen that one.
yeah.
Matter of fact, that might have been my first unconscious exposure to your work because
Oh,
I remember seeing
interesting.
that one around like, damn, that is badass. I
Yeah.
just didn't put two and two together until I started doing this episode research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
All right, so it sounds like I can't go wrong with any of your Venom stuff. So I'll check that out next.
yeah. Please do. Please do.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, there's just 3 issues, but I think one of them went to fourth printing. Like
Oh
it's
wow.
not like I'm tooting my own horn, but it went to fourth
Now fourth
printing.
friend's a flex. That's a flex.
It's a pretty big deal, And
Yeah.
what makes me happy is that I I done 3 issues, but people associate me with the character because they must
Hmm.
like the way I draw him. They must, And again, not to toot my own horn, but I really like my version of Venom. I really like it. Like, I don't know if it's like arrogant, but like
What is it about it? What is it about your version that you like?
I like that Venom combines two of my skills,
Hmm.
my artistic skills. And one is like male anatomy.
Hmm.
Like I learned anatomy. I looked at tons of photos of bodybuilders, studied the muscles, the shapes, everything, and then monsters. And I love the turtles, and I like sharks. And Venom is kind of like has like a shark mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, he changed his shape. That's what I like about him too. That is like the fact that he's like a organism that's kind of like liquid, but it can change form and it can become solid. It can stretch, enlarge, whatever.
I
It's like
imagine that probably keeps it like I imagine it probably keeps it fresh for you, like as an artist. You're
absolutely,
not drawing the same thing. You could
yeah,
play around with it.
yeah. And
Hmm.
once I figured in my head, like no one told me this, I just came up with this idea that he's like rubber. He's like rubber, so I can do whatever I want with his face. And also it's a cartoon. It's not like a cartoon, it's a comic, so you can play with the rules of reality, to some
Hmm.
degree. So I stretch the eyes, deform the eyes. Sometimes I make the big teeth. Sometimes it's the shark mouth. Sometimes it's like Sam Keith that he did like the
Yeah.
cat from Alice in
Hmm. The
Wonderland,
Cheshire
the
cat.
Cheshire
Yeah.
cat. Sometimes I do that smile. Sometimes the tongue, no tongue, the saliva, no saliva. He's so versatile.
That's cool.
So sometimes I drew him. It's not like a. Sometimes I draw him without a jaw or without a chin in some commissions. And it's like fun. It's like, yeah, he's made of rubber, so he can look however I want.
Yeah.
So that's why I like Venom so much. Yeah,
Venom, the character that keeps giving back to artists. I like it.
yeah, yeah.
All right. So Juan, where are you at in your career now? Like, what do you got project wise? Like, what can people expect from you, especially coming off of the success of Jurassic League,
Yeah,
dipping your toe into co-writing? Like, can people expect you to be writing more? Like, what do you got lined up?
yeah. Okay, so the most immediate thing is Marvel Black, White, and Blood, Black, White, and Red, Marvel Zombies. That
Yeah,
thing,
Marvel Zombies, Black, White, and Blood. Yeah.
Black, White, and Blood. That's coming out. I don't know when it's coming out, but I'm wrapping it up in August. So then I don't know. It comes out when it comes out. Uh, so that's one thing. Then another thing that they gave me last week or the previous week, but I don't know. I don't think I can talk about it. It's not Venom. It's not Venom, but yeah, hopefully it's cool. But I don't know. Uh, I don't know that one's coming out either. but then it's interesting because I feel like, sometimes we, as a freelancer, it's like feast or famine.
Hmm.
So there were periods of time when I didn't have a lot of work, but then sometimes I have so much that I have to turn down stuff, or it's like, a funnel, like a funnel when you put like
Like a lot of liquid in, and
like
it's
a lot of
slowly.
stuff, yeah, like a lot of stuff on the top, so maybe nothing comes out, or like little drips. So I feel like I got so many offers and so many projects that now I'm like, I want to say yes to everything. Obviously,
Hmm.
I want the work. I want my art to be out there. I want to draw. I want the money. I want to be busy. But sometimes it's like, man, I'm just one person, you know. So hopefully and thankfully, these people are being very patient, you know. But yeah, so hopefully, 2024, there's going to be a lot of books with my name. Both. Well, nothing with DC for the moment. I can. There's no problem in saying that. Nothing with DC. Marvel, yeah. The Marvel Zombies, then the other thing. But then stuff with like indie publishers, but they pay good rates, so it works. And it's like I don't have the pressure of like, oh, make sure the costume matches the previous issue, you know.
Yeah, it's not a lot of like continuity,
it,
backlog, and all that to worry about.
exactly. So
Okay.
that's very cool. So yeah, that's what's in my plate right now.
All right,
Yeah.
man. Well, look, I'm sure I speak on behalf of the listeners. Whatever you got going on or coming next will be worth checking out. And I just
Thank you,
looked
man.
up that Marvel Zombies book. Issue 1 comes out October 25th. Marvel Zombies Black, White, and Blood. There isn't a bunch of solicitations. I imagine you're probably
Okay.
like issue 2 or whatnot, but at least that's when the first issue comes out. So I'll be
Okay.
picking that up whenever I see your name on there, Juan.
Awesome. Awesome, man.
Juan, I got one more question for you, man.
Yeah.
And I always like closing out with this question because I like to imagine there's a lot of no, not that I even imagine. I know there's a lot of aspiring comic creators listening, whether that be
Hmm.
writing, pencilers, inkers, colors, etc. What's a piece of advice? What's a piece of advice you'd give to an aspiring comic artist that's looking to break into the industry, based on something that you wish you would have known, like as you entered the industry? Like, what would you
Yeah.
advise to that aspiring artist?
I would advise. Mm, 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 mm. If you want to do comics, just do comics on your own, whether you're getting paid for it or not. If
Hmm.
you need to have like a main job, like a 9 to 5, whatever that is, do it. And then in your free time, draw comic books, draw pages. Whether it is your own story, come up with your own story, or work with a script. There's sample scripts online that you can download, or buy a really poorly drawn comic book and draw it well. That's another exercise that
Hmm.
they suggested. Grab like
I've
the
never
Yeah,
I've never heard that. That's pretty cool.
but it's
I've
cool.
never heard that one.
Yeah, go to the store, grab the worst looking comic that you can find, and do it well. It's a good exercise. And then, but then I would say, like, there's already, I wouldn't consider myself like a new guy anymore. I feel like there's already like newer guys, younger guys than me, like started to come out, like Jake Smith, Kevin Catalan,
Hmm.
Jevin Loop.
Wait, did you just say Kevin Catalan?
Yeah, Kevin Catalan. He's awesome.
Dude, he is man. All right, this is definitely going to be for the video listeners.
Yeah.
Kevin Catalan, I met him at Heroes Con for the first
Oh
time
yeah,
this
yeah.
year,
Same.
and I hope Kevin is listening. That dude is awesome.
Yeah, he's great.
He drew the Space Knights
Space Knights.
comic book that came out through Cosmic Lion. Big shout outs to Eli. And at this year's Heroes Con, I commissioned Kevin to do
Uh,
a commission piece, and it actually just came in today.
oh, nice.
I'm gonna go ahead and grab it, and I'm gonna
Okay,
go
okay.
ahead and show you what it's all about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's amazing.
Wow, this is kind of like serendipitous because I was waiting on this for a hot minute.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh,
All
you're
right, let
opening
me
it
see.
right now,
Yeah, right now for you, man.
dude.
All right, here we go. And I
Yeah.
had him draw a super obscure commission piece. So at
Okay.
the convention, I don't know, I got this weird itch of like Combo Man.
Combo Man. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The one from the comic book ads.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the most shameless, marketing for all right,
yeah.
here we oh my God. So I guess like quick little backstory. I bought like a print from Kevin, and it was a Dial M for Monkey, speaking about Dexter's Laboratory and Genny Tartakovsky.
Uh-huh.
And I liked it so much, and I was like, dude, I think you'd be perfect to do a Combo
Combo
Man
Man.
commission. And he was hype about it, and sure enough, my man absolutely
Dude, he's so good.
killed it. Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
that's awesome.
insane. So I'm glad that you mentioned his name. He's definitely like, he's definitely like,
Up and coming.
so,
Yeah,
yo, big time.
yeah, yeah.
He's like a prime example of like up and coming artist.
Yeah, dude. And he's so hardworking. You can tell
Yeah.
how he, like, I see his commissions and I can tell, or his pages, and I can tell, oh, he's studying this. He watched this. He practiced this. He's like learning all the time and like the nicest dude. Like the nicest
Oh
dude. I
yeah.
mean, the other ones I mentioned also super nice people. But with Kevin, we hung out at Heroes. It was like such a nice interaction. Like he was, it's funny. I mean, it's weird maybe that I say it, but it felt like I was to some degree like senpai. Like he was like, but he was
Yeah.
like he was cool about it. He was like picking my brain and asking me different things. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm not like those people who like keep secrets. So I don't want people to surpass me. So I'm gonna withhold information. No, I'm like I share everything. If you're cool, I share everything. I don't care. I don't mind. And he was like that, dude. We hang out
That's
at
cool.
the yeah. No, he's such a cool guy. Such a nice guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Juan, you've been fantastic, man. This has been a great conversation.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
gonna have
Likewise.
link. I'm gonna have links to your website, to your store in the show notes.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to get off your chest? Any shameless plugs?
Uh,
Any promo that you want to do?
I think no. Check out my store. Check out my store. Check out all the stickers that I have. I have a lot of prints. I have two conventions. Dragon Con end of the month.
Oh, cool.
Dragon
Here in
Con.
Atlanta. Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Dragon Con, and then what's the other one?
Please say New York Comic
New
Con.
York Comic Con. I went to New York Comic Con.
I will see you there, my man. I got
Yeah, I got my flight last weekend for like
hell yeah.
crazy cheap. It was probably like a fluke. It was no, it was
Hell yeah.
like a glitch in the matrix. It was so cheap. So New York Comic Con
Yeah.
and end of the year LA Comic Con here in LA, obviously at the convention
Hell
center.
yeah. Hell
So
yeah. Well, brother,
those,
well, hell yeah, dude. I'm looking forward to seeing you at New York Comic Con. That'll
yeah,
be fantastic.
yeah,
And I can't wait for the world to hear this episode. Juan,
yeah.
you've been great, man.
You've been great. You too, man. It was so much fun.